And just like that, we're back for the second season of TOECAR. After a tragic but hilarious ending to Season 1, let's see your Splint Cup drivers for Season 2. After demonetizing the entire channel, winning Michigan, and destroying the Colonel's face, your cunt returns for Season 2 and is back with a vengeance after a disappointing end. This short-tempered Australian was pretty much in contention for every race last season. Let's see if he's able to keep it up and deliver to his growing fan base. Despite getting stuck in the fence at Talladega and getting a front row seat to the execution of Juno Dollars, Raymond Hans managed to fight his way back to make the playoffs and was looking like a championship contender. However, after taking the caution, he would stupidly take a look at his phone while he was leading and would crash into the walking battering ram that is Babe Juice. This would ultimately end his hopes and dreams of a championship. Next time, you might not want to check your phone while racing. Maybe get to the playoffs next season and make Daddy Hans proud. I don't think the ending of last season could have gone worse for Daniel Suez. He was fighting for the championship lead, entering turn 1 of the final lap while Slim Shady did the unthinkable, just for him to slide up the track and take himself and Limberger out. All while he handed Daddy Boys the championship on a silver platter. I'm interested to see if this wreck affects him when we return to Daytona, but let's hope that he's similar to how he ran last year. Last season was one to forget for old SBRC, as he had probably the hardest hits of any driver that is still alive. Like, I swear, this guy was in a bad wreck every single week. It's a miracle that he was even able to keep his seat for this season. Let's just hope he doesn't end another driver's career like he did John Niemannek on race just 2. Welcome to the Splint Cup Series, rookie! Last season, DUI Div won more races than any other driver in both series at a whole 2 wins. And with a fresh new number, he could probably do it again. However, he might want to be careful as all his fellow alcoholics are basically dead. Well, not dead, but they're out of a career. Specifically Clink Bottles. That poor guy, man. That being said, DUI Div is a proven generational talent and will probably be fighting for the championship yet again. After being the best driver without a doubt all season, Muscular Zophy was left with the worst fate of all, 2nd place. To the man who, if he even tapped the wall under caution, he would have been dead in an instant, and to the spoiled rich kid. Man, what a world. If I was him, I would be more pissed off than I'd ever been in my entire life and would be determined to get one spot better at the end of this season. However, I am not indeed Muscular Zophy, and for all I know, he's probably going to be dead on week 3. You know, out of all the families in TOECAR, I think the Joe family is the luckiest of all of them. Despite both drivers being in the Goodies Trash Series, and only 15 out of the 41 drivers from the Trash Series returning, both of them managed their way into a Splint Cup ride for this season. What makes it even more shocking is that 11 of those spots were taken by playoff drivers, and neither of the Joe brothers made the playoffs. Not 11-9, but what's the difference? Jake Joe was basically irrelevant the entire season, other than at CRI. So hopefully he'll be more relevant this time. But at the same time, he'll probably will be dead. Chris Call looked like the championship favorite early on for the Goodies Trash Series last season. However, it just became apparent that he was a super speedway merchant after like week 3. I mean, really, outside of Daytona and Talladega, where did you see Chris Call? Never. You didn't see him because he sucked the rest of the season. That's what happened. But super speedway merchants are at their best in TOECAR, as just one win will get you a championship contention. So he could be in championship contention again. Let's see if he can hang with these veterans. After making the playoffs with the aid of his son, Tatum Masado crumbled under the pressure at Kansas, being involved in, I'm pretty sure, every fucking wreck that happened. But with his son in the car as well full-time, that might bring some boost and he's going to run better. Keep in mind, Tatum Masado managed to make the playoffs with only 1 top 10. However, other than Bowman Gray, which he missed the field, his worst finish was 17th. So consistency definitely played a role in it, and that consistency could win you a championship. I really wouldn't be surprised to see Tatuma back in the playoffs, but at the same time, some drivers just tend to crumble, like just midway through the season. so anything can happen. Despite losing the championship because of Harold Clot, Making Music will enter the Splint Cup series looking for some redemption. But not just for himself, but also his brother Paul Walker Music, who is unfortunately out of a ride for this season. I don't really have much to say about Making Music, but I hope he gets some bad karma for killing Eustace, that old fuck. Eustace did nothing to you, Making Music. Despite never winning, fuck. Okay, wait, no, I could save this. Get the runtime up. Despite never winning a race, I feel like this 9 team was notable in just about every week. However, that was goodies, and this is going to be the Splint Cup series. He's going to have to prove that he can hang with the big guns and stay there now. Oh, you're still here? I'm going to be honest, I have no fucking clue how the hell Cheesy managed to keep his seat. I mean, outside of his third at Kansas, I don't think I ever saw him in front other than when he was wrecking. Maybe he'll be more notable now that Demonde and Drew are not here, as they're both dead and a tree. Because, man, I don't know if it was just me, but that 01 and the 10 were so fucking hard to figure out who was who. I'm excited to see what Ginger Joe can do this year. I feel like he can be a championship contender, or at least a fringe playoff contender at the most. Because I feel like he can definitely win a race. However, that's about all I have to say about Mr. Joe. However, I have a lot to say about you, Mr. Guts. I am absolutely terrified of the idea of Buster Guts getting back behind the wheel of a cup car after what he did in Bob Sled's car. I'm just praying there's not a road course in Splint, and Ginger Joe, if there is, can manage to figure out how to turn left. I mean, right. Whatever. Anything to keep Buster out of the car, I'm begging you. Well, the start of the season looked promising for good old Willie. However, after some bad luck at Avis, it was pretty clear that he was going to need to win instead of being able to points his way in. Which, obviously, he was unsuccessful at. However, the start was proof that he could compete for wins, I guess. Hopefully he can get himself in a similar spot where he doesn't crumble under the pressure in the Splint Cup series this year. Being the son of the legendary Craig Bush, it's really no surprise that Kurt and Kyle won the fan vote to return to the Splint Cup series. Last year was a pretty rough start for the young star, but I think he can definitely make a splash this season. Hell, he could even win the entire thing. Hopefully his brother, Fragile Fred Bush, can get to the Splint Cup for Season 3, so we can see both the brothers Bush fight it out. Everyone's favorite lovable fat bastard and the only non-murderous one returns for the Splint Cup series Season 2. Thanks to his loyal fanbase, Chunk returns to Season 2. Chunk had some shines of brilliance in Season 1, however bad luck was his downfall, hence why he had to be in the fan boat to begin with. That and enjoying Arby's, that is definitely a reason for it. Thankfully, he was gifted the second chance, so I would look out for Chunk, because he might not be as nice as he was this time around. I mean, he didn't even mean to do what he did to Mario Zandretti. What do you expect he can do if he means to do something? Well, after nearly dying at the hands of Brody Kraft while Dega Dub grinded the catch fence down, Tyrese Halifax will return to run the hopefully full schedule this time around. With the help of a rich 15-year-old and the Balter ego, Tyrese was basically handed a championship trophy to him after doing absolutely fucking nothing. Well, half a championship trophy. But that doesn't matter. Looking back, outside of his win, Tyrese was really basically irrelevant outside of, like, just wrecking. He even missed Bowman Gray, for one. Maybe the championship boost will make him more competitive for this season, but honestly, who knows? It would be nice to see the 24 get back-to-back championships. I mean, with the actual driver this time, of course. Well, it certainly could have gone better. The man with the most fucked up name ever had a pretty rough season overall, outside of his more than fortunate win at Daytona. Not to mention, he was out for 2 races, being Michigan and Bowman Gray, after a bad wreck at Talladega. The poor guy couldn't even escape disaster in the finale, as he somehow managed to flip there as well. I personally think Zach Outback is one of my favorite drivers, so I do hope he does get better finishes this season, or at the very least doesn't die. But who knows, he'll probably do neither. You know, being up front really does have its benefits. For example, you get a lot of screen time, which, to the dismay of Tristan, Mateus Paiva was indeed at the front for most races. Unfortunately, it was all for nothing as he got the absolute shit beat out of him at Korea, but that doesn't really say much when he's definitely going to be in contention to make the playoffs this year in Splint Cup. He should avoid Tristan, though. That guy really hates him to the point where it's kind of concerning. But who knows, maybe by the end of the season, Tristan will become a fan of his. Let's just hope he remembers to speak English by the time the season starts. Because that's going to be rough to talk to everyone in Brazilian for the entire season. Man, it is such a relief to know that Babe Juth will not be returning for this season. That fat fuck was a menace and should never be trusted. What's that? No. It can't be. No. No! Unfortunately, thanks to our loving commentators who definitely care about their driver's safety, Babe Juth will be returning to the Cup Series in Season 2. I don't know what the hell they are thinking. I mean, this is not going to end well. Whatever. When he kills 8 people, don't say I didn't warn you. Maybe I shouldn't be too harsh on him. Maybe he'll have a brain this time around. Who knows? I just hope he doesn't try to kill anyone. That's all I want out of him. Being the only champion that actually ran the full schedule last season, Rustard is going to enter this season with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, sure, he's never raced in these cars, but it really wouldn't surprise me if everyone went to intent wreck him each race. Honestly, the better you do, the less I feel like I have to say about you, so I've really got nothing left. I'm actually really happy that Mario Zandretti gets a second chance at life. It wasn't shown on camera, but the guy went through some sort of realization and got really depressed and hopeless after, like, Talladega. But you know, he had those shines of brightness I feel like most drivers did end up having 1 or 2 of each season. So who knows, he could win a race. At the very least, there's nowhere to go but up at rock bottom, so can't be worse than last season. You would think that winning a race would make you memorable, right? Well, no. I don't remember seeing Braden bunch even once other than him backing into that win at Ricky. So, you know, I would like to say I want to see more of him next season, but this fucker is ugly as shit. Oh, here we go. You know, I originally had the script written for you completely different, calling you the new Babe Juth, but now he's back, so I gotta rewrite it. The Plower Tour is back again after nearly killing our champion. Maybe he's gonna be able to do something other than almost commit involuntary manslaughter this time. I do hope so. I'm pretty sick of just dumbasses causing people to die. Like, I don't want deaths every week. Either way, I guess it's nice to have a familiar face still. I mean, he might do something, he might not. Limberger almost had the best story of any driver this season, after the heartbreaking loss for Asiago at Ricky, and getting redemption for him at CRI as his brother wrecked out of it. Making the playoffs, Limberger would be in a prime position to win the championship in a storybook ending. That was until Daniel Suez decided to slide up the racetrack and take himself and Limberger out. It was really depressing unless you were a Tathrima fan, which, let's be honest, none of us were. So hopefully he can get some redemption for the heartbreak this time around. I'll be real, from races 1 through 3, Tomman Walls was absolutely nowhere to be seen. Like, I didn't even know he was in the series. However, from Avis onward, Tomman basically found himself up at the front every single race, at least at one point, from absolutely nowhere. And because of that, he would end up making the playoffs, miraculously. Like, I don't know how the hell he did it. Of course, he ended up getting wrecked and all that shit, but at least he did something, and he might have those flashes again this year. Despite suffering from conjoined legs at Atlanta, Arkansas Jones manages to get his way up to Splint for Season 2. Honestly, it's all thanks to Coyle Lawson with his second place at Atlanta. Like, it really is. And that would get him his spot. As a certified number 67 user, I do hope that Arkansas can do something in that car that isn't just wreck. Because, oh my, was the 67 notable for wrecking last year. After barely winning Bowman Gray, Peck gained a massive ego at Atlanta, where he was quickly put into place and went on to fail miserably at the finale in Kansas. After the ego check of the century, maybe Pekar Petty can do better this time and get back to the playoffs without being a piece of shit. Because we have too many assholes in Splint already. We don't need another one. Come on, bro. The season was ultimately pretty good, despite not making the playoffs, obviously. What did him in ultimately was not qualifying for Bowman Gray and then crumbling under pressure at CRI. However, what I'm most excited about to see Bellagio back this season is if he can get some revenge on Tathrima for intent wrecking him at CRI. That mixed with both Asiagos having speed, I'm really excited to see what they can do for Season 2, and maybe both will make the playoffs this time. It's surprising that Joe Swanson is even alive after, multiple tragic crashes that could have ended awful. I mean, CRI, Ricky a second time, and of course, CRI where he almost met fate after Elgato no signaling. Even with losing all feeling in his body, the poor guy was already disabled, come on. But of course, with the help of the Simon system, and he would yell his way to victory lane at Korea, miraculously. I don't know how the fuck he managed to do that. And not only did he win, but he earned his spot in the Splint Cup Series for Season 2. I am really excited to see how our favorite copper can do this year. You know, similar to Braden Bunch, despite winning a race, Down Under I don't remember seeing once all season. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Besides, I have a lot to say about this next guy. You know, it's almost sad, really. Not only did Mr. Toes let Tatuma bribe him into giving his son a ride, but also allow him to run for a championship after only running one race. After racing for 2 months with the chance of death every week, managing to win a race and make the playoffs, just for a spoiled rich 15-year-old to take the championship for himself. I would be pissed if I were any of the other playoff drivers. I honestly hope this fucker dies, so I don't have to hear his big mouth again, because that motherfucker got an ego. Oh, who am I kidding? I am Tyrese Masado! And guess what? I'm not going anywhere! Oh, great. Another pile driver to the Splint Cup Series. Daddy McBetty was just a terrorist in Season 1 of Goodies, most notably at Ricky where he plowed into an already dead Strikes Ferguson. After being involved in multiple incidents before this race, and even in that race prior, I just hope that he stays away from my favorite drivers, because goddamn. While not as prominent, Corey Origami had a very similar season to Muscular Zophy, where he was basically relevant every week, including a dominant win in Atlanta. I mean, sure, everyone else died, but I mean, he still won the race. If he can keep that pace up this season, I think he could definitely walk away with a championship this time around. And last but certainly not least, we have our favorite 97-year-old Harold Klott. Despite how rough Season 1 was at times, it's clear Harold isn't going anywhere unless he dies, of course. That could definitely happen, but I try to ignore it. Especially with that weird nightmare I had that apparently everyone else had. I don't know why the fuck everyone else had the exact same nightmare. It's weird as hell. But either way, hopefully the season goes better for old Harold. I really don't want to see him struggle like he did last season. It was kind of depressing because he's old and, I don't know,